What's going on, everybody? Welcome to tonight's broadcast of the ACL here on Aegis, where we have got ourselves the lower bracket round one, our first elimination series of the playoffs for spring. This will narrow us down from 12 teams to 8. And we have one match not rescheduled, Quacks. It is Meebo's Weebos taking on Tempo Rush, two teams that nobody expected to be here.
Yeah, and frankly, I think this is going to be a super fun matchup. We were kind of, like you said, this was a duo of two teams that I think have had really interesting stories in that if you go back to the beginning of the year, if you go back to the beginning of the split here, not a lot of people on the seeding committee were big believers of this team, right? That is especially the case for Meebo's Weebos. And then now, Gordo, us on the broadcast, we have gotten a look at both of these teams. So familiar with both how they like to play and what has made them capable of now getting into the playoffs. I do think, though, that it will be sad to see one of these teams go. I think that we obviously do have the open qualifiers, but these guys aren't playing in the OQs, so this is going to be our goodbye to one of them, and I think that both of them have styles that have been very fun to watch so far.
Yeah, no, this is, this has shades of like when we play a Swiss elimination match at Worlds where it's NA versus NA, so you're guaranteed to get an NA team in the top 8. Yeah, on the one hand, it sucks to see one of these teams leave us so early. On the other hand, it means one of these teams is guaranteed a top 8 finish, which is going to be so sick for them. So
it's like those TikToks where it's like, would you rather have $5 or double it and give it to the next person or something like that? Or like gives you like a chance to double your money, right? We kind of want to see both teams make it, but the guaranteed play leaves a little bit of satisfaction, but a little bit of sadness, right? Because we're not getting both of them. I definitely feel like that is a proper analogy, kind of similar to what you were saying, Gordo.
So, yeah, let's talk about these two teams because I think they're two very different underdog stories, and I think I'm curious which one you find more compelling. Starting with Meebo's Weebos, these guys have consistently been able to find wins and have like catapulted themselves just straight up to the top of the standings. They are 4-1 in match record from the regular season, 9-3 game record from the regular season. They beat out Milky Sports Brazil, who ended up being eliminated. They beat out teams like Calamity and Dorado Black. Calamity obviously coming back to clap back at them in the last round of playoffs to send them down to the lower bracket. But all in all, I mean, this team has just been solid throughout.
They absolutely have been, but I really want to hone in and focus on the most recent series that we saw Meebo's Weebos, that 0-2 best of 3 against Calamity Esports. I think Calamity just looked like the more fundamentally sound team. It felt like the team fights were really good from them. It felt like they played cleaner League of Legends. And we kind of had the question of, previous to when we had seen them, Gordo, do these guys have like an ace up their sleeve? Do they have something that makes them unique? Do they have something that, is kind of considered a curveball potentially in the draft? And that was not really present in the draft at all. They played your stock standard comps. They played the style that you see so many teams kind of parrot around the world. And so those fundamentals that I think we have yet to see from them need to come through here today up against Tempo Rush, who are fundamentally a very different team. The questions that we had centered around Meebo's Weebos were because of teams like Tempo Rush completely breaking the mold.
Yeah, and then here's the other flavor of underdog, right, Quacks? Tempo Rush coming in still at a shaky regular season, 3-2 record, 6-6 game record, and fighting and scrapping every piece of the way, including like up until the very final match. It was a required win from them up against Team Samsara for them to, they had a chance to 2-0 Team Samsara and make playoffs outright. They win that series, but only in 2-1 fashion. So then they have to go and play another last chance series. They have to play the hardest last chance series possible against originally top seeded team Milk Esports Brazil. And yet they managed to pull it out and eliminate them in 2-0 fashion. And this is also, in addition to having like an opposite style journey here of being close contenders scrapping rather than being surprise dominators, this team also plays nowhere near the regular style of League of Legends. This team under the tutelage of Coach Shopkeeper here, have played a very unique style. The coach themselves have attributed it to a little bit of LS and Nicholas Desiree inspired drafting here, and that really is kind of exactly what it is. They play super unique top laners based on matchup. They play stuff like Ivern and Karthus in the jungle. They play stuff like Melio and Zillion and Lulu mid, and it is a joy to watch.
It absolutely is. And frankly, I feel like this is a team that if the ACL was like a lot more popular, Gordo, like if we had 5 times the fans watching our streams, right? I know, but this would be a team that I think would be considered a fan favorite, right? Because of how they play the game. You talked about it a little bit. Supports in the mid lane, unique picks in the top lane, and just generally, I think that we are in for a really fun head-to-head here. But I also feel like Tempo Rush, we just really want to see them in the best of 5s, right? So a lot of people would like to see, okay, we can play things like the Melio, we can play things like the Soraka. We've got these kind of curveballs at every single opportunity that we can bust out in the draft. What were to happen if we could get into the best of 5? So I feel like that kind of curiosity might get some people behind wanting to root for this team and see them get further. But at the same time, Meebo's Weebos, the 3rd seed, have, like you said, dominated so many other teams that on paper they shouldn't be able to now get to where they are, and they are the favorites going into this best of 3.
I would agree with you there. So that's our stakes. Those are our 2 teams. Elimination on the line, a best of 3 to determine who's going to exit in top 12 and who is going to secure a spot in top 8. I think the mid lane matchup is one that I'm really going to be on the lookout here. Yeah. I think Jameeb looked very good in the matchup up against Calamity last week. Had a couple of very phases up against the likes of Loney in that series, despite not being able to pick up a win. I think was in strong positions in both games, had a good solid laning phase in both games. Up against Lickable, who is, I'm going back to Lickable, by the way. I feel, I saw this guy.
Enough with this debate. It's old. It got old. All right.
He wrote Lickable as his name in his OQ application. So I'm back on the Lickable train now. That's it. We don't have to take the conversation any further. No. But I'm going with Lickable tonight. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Akshan Band to start things out. That's a Lickable target.
Yeah, and you talk about the mid lane matchup, Gordo, and I feel like it is the most interesting, but not in, I think, the traditional head-to-head sense where we're like, oh, we really want to see the Jace versus, or like the Victor versus like the Mel, or we want to see these mages scrap against each other, Orianna versus Syndra going at each other. I feel like Lickable is a player that we're looking at the matchup versus him and Jameeb to see how Lickable can associate, how he can associate himself with the rest of the map, how he can kind of spread the influence and, link up with Zutter, link up with Ostrich. I think that he has been a really good supportive mid laner. So this isn't your traditional one-on-one lane going into the series. And I do think that Meebo's Weebos likely understand that. And I wouldn't be surprised if they, at the very least, attempt to target some support mid laners that they might find annoying. We've talked about it before, but you're never going to ban away a team like Meebo's Weebos who just have so many characters that they're willing to bust out at a moment's notice.
Yeah, well, it is a big staple of Tempo Rush play. I don't think the support mids are the only thing that they are. I don't want to pigeonhole them into the support mids. They may very well go for that strategy, especially if tonight goes to 3 games, which I think it has every possibility in the world of doing. I think we get to see at least 1 game of support mid for sure. But plays the marksman mids, played a couple of games of Corki. You can see he's drawing the Akshan ban. And then additionally, we know this guy from his history plays the mages as well. He's already had a Ziggs game prior to the API crapping out and us no longer getting data. We know he played at least 1 game of the Ziggs. And we know from his history as a player in the ACL and in NA Tier 3 that he will play traditional mages. He has played on more traditional teams before. And has been solid. So he could definitely play the mages as well if the scenario calls for it. It's more about their identity as a team that has pushed him away. And I believe Shopkeeper called it out as much, that Lickable was a big centerpiece of this team in that he can play everything, and that they feel he's a very talented player, that they are happy to make a cornerstone of the way they play the game.
And we can see now as the bans keep moving forward, a lot of marksmen being targeted here by Meebo's Weebos. We can see that the Akshan is going to be hitting likely Jameeb, one of his comfort picks. And then we've got the Senna as well. So marksmen, but in various different positions. I think that Senna has actually gotten a lot more priority lately, just with the static shiv and the black cleaver and all of these kind of game changes and item changes really centering around themselves for champions like Senna, who really enjoy stacking up, really enjoy scaling, and also have like a lot of very fun on-hit effects items that they can build. So just making sure that they steal that one away and then sending Senna's husband to the Shadow Realm at the same time. So all three bans here from Meebo's Weebos centered around marksman. I wonder if this means that they have a bot lane duo that they really want to play. If you're banning away things like the Senna, that leads me to believe maybe you value the range of something like an Ashe Seraphine, which is still up, has lost a little bit of priority, but is still possible. But no, Karma going to be the pick instead. Ezreal is on the board, so you can get that classic pairing. But even if you don't, I think that Meebo's Weebos are happy to have this champion that is essentially pick ban across the board in the world.
Yeah, this is almost certainly going for YHL in the bottom lane, and we'll secure them a solid matchup alongside Noodles. This is a team that struggled quite a bit when they faced off up against Calamity. Their bot lane, I think, was getting attacked very, very harshly. Warrior was down there all day long, and
Smalls was just on a tear. Yeah,
Smalls was on a tear. Yeah, and I'm very curious. I think Ostrich and DDoS performed solidly in the lane matchups that we've gotten to see when they've been featured on stream. I think a lot more of it has been about hard funneling Ostrich through these double support compositions, more so than necessarily dominating through lane. Although, as I say that, it's going to be a very early Lux lock-in. I suspect this is supposed to be a Karma counter, right? This is supposed to outrange and outdamage the traditional high range, high damage support enchanter.
It's something that can go ban for ban with it, right? I think that Karma is pretty difficult to beat outright in the 2v2s, especially if you are another mage. So Lux to me kind of screams that they at least want to really jockey for that control. And yeah, they're going to go up and get the Caitlyn. So the CC from Lux gives you the ability to have those traps, and Caitlyn, especially when she gets Storm Razor, it's going to be very easy to apply that damage. Meebo's Weebos, I think, now just it's kind of a question of what they put in the jungle. I think that although you've got a very long-range bot lane, Meebo's Weebo's probably going to just grab up the Ezreal or some other long-range AD carry to come along with the Karma, but you need some kind of jungler that can close that distance, right? So I'm thinking things like the Xin Zhao, who not only can do that with the Wind Become Lightning plus Audacious Charge combo, also has the ultimate, right, to be able to block some of that long range and peel for his backline. And instead of the Ezreal is going to be the Varus, so does actually give you that lockdown, right, with the ultimate, and can punish the immobility of champions like Lux.
Yeah, I like this. It lets you fight to some degree up against the Lux Caitlyn, but it also gives you that little bit of extra utility compared to something like the Ezreal coming into the later game. Meebo's Weebos, not a team that looks to rely on Noodle to kind of hard carry them. So really going to appreciate having access to those kind of extra pick tools in the form of the Chains of Corruption. And then there's a Xin Zhao for Mr. Fluffy. Pretty stock standard draft out of Meebo's Weebos so far. They locked down some nice early counter picks. Tempo Rush now. Do they want to take a crack at the top of the jungle pool? We know that they have a variety of weird stuff that they will go for. The most normal thing that Zutter has been going for series in and series out has been that Xin Zhao. It is going to get stolen away here as well, so that's a denial as well as a strong power pick for Meebo's Weebos.
Well, Zutter really likes Kha'Zix, and, you know, no bias here, but Kha'Zix actually does really nicely into into the Xin Zhao. This is one of his best matchups most of the time. So if he was feeling bold, and if Shopkeeper really wanted to just let him unleash, that could be an option. But instead, we are going to get the Olaf to come through here. Now, doesn't automatically mean that this is going to be given over to Zutter. This could be a Kino pick, but now that it's on 3, we're going to be kind of left guessing as we get into the second phase of Bans Gordo.
Certainly going to be guessing a little bit here. The Olaf could be flexed around the map. I would default to thinking it is probably for the jungle, and they are going to try to enable it to, you know, kind of run through these team fights, run through this Xin Zhao, but they could still flex it around if the scenario called for it. Opportunity now. They're going to have to blind either mid or top coming up next, so are going to look to restrict that pool. They take away the Azir from Jameeb, and if it is going to be a blind mid laner coming up, I would also look at that Victor. That has been a big pick for him. The Orianna still up as well in that kind of trifecta of control mages.
Yeah, not a ton of ball deliverers given over to Meebo's Weebos so far, though. If they do want to maybe go for the Orianna themselves, you do have the Xin Zhao, right? So that is at least something, but I would be a little bit careful and cautious going for some of these immobile mid laners, because if it is an Olaf jungle, he gets one undertow on you and you're probably dead, or you're at the very least going to have to expend that flash. So I think that the Olaf pick now kind of forces Meebo's Weebos solo laners specifically to be like, okay, we can't really go for something that's immobile, right? We have to go for something that can avoid the Olaf pressure and something that can get away from him when he pops that Ragnarok to stall out the 6-second timer.
Yeah, the loss of phase rush gonna be felt here on whatever you end up going for. Zillion ban as they start to look over towards Lickables Enchanters. So, you know, I think that's a really good point, Quacks. I wonder then if the ban, okay, it is gonna be the Orianna. I was considering whether it might be something like the Aurora instead, just to try to limit options that are able to evade the Olaf a little bit more effectively. I still think that's gonna be pretty high up in the priority list for game number 1. If they're gonna take away the Zillion, I wonder if they're gonna double down and take away the Melio as well and say, look, we're going to take away your best enchanter mids, because we definitely don't want to deal with it. I mean, I wonder if this is even an enchanter mid game, though, when you've already got luck support and Caitlyn's your carry. I mean, it would be good for the Olaf. So I mean, I
think one of the best answers to Olaf right now that is currently meta is Anivia. We did see some nerfs to it come through, but like that wall is like, if he pops ult, you wall him, right? And depending on the place, he's gonna have to go all the way around or potentially flash for it.
Oh, there's
he might not even be able to flash, because usually Olafs take Ghost. So we'll see. I think Anivia is a really good shout if they want to pair that up with the Xin Zhao. Despite the nerfs that we got from it in 26.10, I think it is definitely worth it to try and do something against the Olaf. And yeah, there we go. So Anivia going to be locked in here. Really like this. It's also really good against the Lulu. Does a good job at outranging it, and also just being able to limit, I think, what Lulu can do once Anivia has that level 6, as lock-in means it is Anivia top lane. So this is now blind. It means that Tempo Rush are not going to throw the Olaf in the jungle. They're going to throw it in, or they are going to throw it in the jungle. They're not going to throw it in top lane. And Ornn going to be the response instead. So Gordo, 2 supports basically, a lot of range and ornaments. This Caitlyn is the name of the game.
Caitlyn and Olaf, that's 100% sure. They are going to look to boost these guys up to hard carry the game for them. And now, a lesser broadcast, Quacks, a lesser broadcast would look at this draft and say, there's got to be Lux mid and Lulu support. We've done our homework. We know that that's not the case. Not with Tempo Rush.
Yep.
They are coming on in with this Lulu in the mid lane. DDoS is going to pilot the Lux alongside this Caitlyn for that lane dominant duo. Lickable going to take his licks in mid lane and going to look to scale up later in with this extra income from the mid lane to hyper accelerate himself onto those enchanter items and really try to make Zutter and Ostrich completely unstoppable.
Yeah, that's the goal here. But I think that Meebo's Weebos have a really solid response, right? Because the idea for them is once Tempo Rush decide that it's time to go in, you throw up your walls, you throw up your gravity fields, you crescent guard, you team-wide shield everybody. Meebo's Weebos level of disengage, I think, is extremely valuable for taking care of a team like Tempo Rush, who want their engages to be dictated by Zutter and by this Olaf. You have the ability to kind of get away from him, and that was our biggest concern going into the draft. So now it's just about how they throw it down in execution. as we are on to the Rift, and already Zutter fishing for some undertows.
All right, I need you to talk me down off this ledge, Quacks. Is there any utility to breaking a Nivea wall with Searing Charge so that Olaf can just walk through it?
I mean, it's got a delay, right? So it's got a charge up. So even if he is able to do that, I'm pretty sure he's actually able to break that wall. That still means that Meebo's Weebos buy themselves time. So I feel like the point still stands in regards to just the value that this Anivia is bringing. I will say, it going top lane does mean that there will be less opportunities for Yoshui to really impact the map on us, because they'll be kind of stuck on a side lane. But that just means I think Meebo's Weebos need to try and get him out of this lane as soon as possible and into these team fights. More specifically, these rivers are going to be extremely important. I think the zone control from Meebo's Weebos is very good with all of those disengage tools that we talked about.
Definitely. And the laning phase will begin. I do think this is going to be pretty nice for Yoshui up in the top lane on this Anivia. He's going to have a hell of a time being able to just play range versus melee up against this orange. Should be able to keep himself relatively out of threat range for the majority of the laning phase. So going to be able to just kind of farm up on this Anivia. Does have to fear the Olaf somewhat up until he gets to a point where the wall is thick enough and big enough and consistently available enough to where he can just evade any kind of potential engagements with it. Do expect Zutter to be hard farming for a lot of that early phase as well, as junglers did go for opposite clears. Should be able to trade scuttlers no problem. Yeah.
So not a ton of action befalling the Rift right now. I am interested to see if the trading pattern from Jameeb is maybe lessened a little bit with the Deathfire touch nerfs. Obviously did have its damage slightly reduced, so that might play a factor in just this this Victor's harassment being slightly lessened. But it is good enough to the point where Jameeb can actually get a pretty cheeky cheater recall, and because neither jungler is meeting each other on the crab, they're just pathing opposite one another, like you said, Gordo, it means that there's no reason for him to stay on the map. So Victor already having a pretty good game for himself, and the scaling from Meebo's Weebos off to a good start.
Definitely looking to keep Zutter on pace. They do land a root down here in the bottom lane. There's a full combo from Ostrich. Gonna take YHL pretty low. Noodles doing his best to return fire. Going to take Ostrich for a fair bit of HP. Lands the follow-up Q with the fully stacked W. Be able to take him to about 150. But the low health bars on both members might just be enough to push them back. DDoS, the healthiest member in the lane, but just about out of mana. Question is going to be who blinks first, who takes that recall, and the answer is Noodles. So Ostrich and DDoS will be able to push this back, but that teleport from the Varus is going to pay off. The root connects, though, and this might just be first blood. Ostrich and DDoS claim the life of YHL.
We talked about that interaction in the draft, Gordo. We said that if a root lands, a trap is soon to follow, and the damage from Ostrich comes through. First blood over to the Caitlyn. Noodles does come back to the lane with teleport, so won't miss too much, but Ostrich is going to gain a lot off of this reset. It is also a little bit unfortunate. I think that if YHL was able to hold on for just a little bit longer in the 1v2, maybe there is a chance that Mr. Fluffy, who was on a reset and on a timer to potentially gank that top lane, could have impacted it. But that ship has sailed, and Tempo Rush off to a 1-0 lead the gold exactly where they want it.
Now, good start here for the likes of Tempo Rush. This is how they want their laning phase to play out. They want to be able to develop that 2v2 lead for the Caitlyn and the Lux. And so far, they have been able to do just that. Zutter going to want to show up to these dragons. You'd better believe it. And will need a priority bot lane to be able to do so, especially because this Victor is going to be pushing in to the Lulu. Kino managing to close the gap here up against Yoshui. We'll get a bit of a trade going. I would be surprised if kill pressure becomes relevant in this top lane, though. The first dragon is up. Zutter is on that side of the map, and he looks like he wants to just rip it.
Me popping all looking for the kill. Deathfire touch almost finishes the job, Gordo, but not quite here, as I believe Zutter is onto the dragon. There's a pushing wave here for DDoS and Ostrich, so this is a good timer for the Olaf, who is surprisingly very quick at being able to take objectives to do so. Obviously, you've got that W, you've got the attack speed, and then you've got the E, which is not only a good amount of damage in of itself, but also is an auto attack reset timer. So you can kind of get that animation cancel through just to speed that up slightly. Zutter gonna get the first Drake, and Meebo's Weebos not really having the opportunity to do anything so far. Kino's actually going to TP back to lane, and Mr. Fluffy is right here. So maybe an opportunity opening up for the Xin Zhao.
Yeah, this is at least going to be a flash. Might be able to run Kino all the way down. In fact, I think he's going to choose to not flash. Just give himself up here, recognizes that he is in a dire situation. And that'll be the first kill of the lane going the way of Yoshui on a big scaling mage carry. That's going to be a big part of this composition. So Meebo's Weebos plenty happy to pick that up, and they're going to take the gold lead ever so slightly off the back of that kill.
And Kino also TP'd, so he's not going to have that summoner spell. He's probably going to miss like half of this wave, if not more. It's going to be a good denial of gold, and you can already see he's about 20 CS down because of that, on top of the kill gold going over to Yoshui. So nice lead here for the Anivia. Going to get a clean reset, and as long as he is getting levels and as long as he is getting items, I feel like really the big value that we're heralding on this Anivia pick is all in due part to that wall. So the more points in wall, the better. The more level ups, the better.
Is starting to really build up that CS lead in top lane, as well as Yoshui as expected somewhat in the range versus Ornn matchup. Yeah. It's you know, it's not a life that Ornn loves to live. Not that he will mind the deficit too much, as long as he's still getting his XP. We were going to have those grubs spawn here before too long. I wonder if this is an opportunity for Meebo's Weebos. I don't know that either of these teams hugely cares about the grubs this game, but something to play for while the dragons are down, and should be pretty strong around top mid with the way these matchups are. Lickable just going to get Chaos Stormed again here, or Arcane Stormed as it's been renamed to. And Lickable will have to bail out. Does not have to blow the summoner heal though. And now Zutter sees an angle on a YHL, 2-level advantage. Take that 1-level advantage. He takes level 6. Lickable almost dies to the Mantra Q, and now I think he's got to be respectful and back out.
Yep, so Lickable going to be forced to reset. Jameeb, with the cover of YHL, will be able to also push in this lane, so will be good for the victor at the same time. Zutter really, though, just wants to cross this river. I don't know if it's because of the grubs, but... Trap.
Exchange to the bottom side. Noodles incredibly low. Final spark comes out, doesn't connect. DDoS takes a turret shot, and the 2 versus 2 victory for Noodles and YHL. Ostrich and DDoS bite off more than they can chew, take a turret shot apiece, and down they go. Meebo's Weebos on the board 3-1.
I don't even know if I feel comfortable calling that a 2 versus 2, Gorda. That was more like a 2 versus 2.5. That turret working overtime to make the difference in the health bars. Noodles and YHL gonna leave the lane, or at least reset the lane with a kill each. And Noodles particularly gonna be getting closer and closer to that first item, gonna pick up a Retrix. So good start here for the Meebo's Weebos bot lane. Initially after Ostrich actually got a really cheeky kill initially onto YHL. This equalizes it a little bit and does keep the Varus win con alive.
Retrix gone, going for Boots 2 instead. But Noodles will still be returning to lane with another nice influx of gold. It's the ability for lower cooldowns, gets more piercing arrows to farm with. That's less risk he puts himself at in this 2 versus 2. And I'm somewhat surprised that Zutter is not rolled up here for a somewhat early dive at any point in these first 10 minutes. Feels like a very diveable lane duo with a post-level 6 Olaf, and they have been pushing that lane in pretty consistently. But now, some of the window is going to begin to close on how easily you can get kills with this Lux Caitlyn duo. And now Mr. Fluffy in the area to relieve some pressure once again. Ostrich taking a half slowed up, forced to flash. And another tool drops away from the tempo rush bot lane.
And Noodles also now has the ultimate too, so being able to find your mark onto the Caitlyn with that Chains of Corruption going to be very easy, as there's no real way for Ostrich to flash away from that with the summoner spell down. Creates more opportunities for Meebo's Weebos to just look aggressively onto this bot lane, and could open up the door for Mr. Fluffy to potentially just go for that dragon right off rip, because now with no flash, not only does Ostrich have no way of dodging out the pick tools on Meebo's Weebos, but he also can't really leverage his own poke. So it is going to mean Meebo's Weebos get priority. They've had priority all the time in mid. I think this sets them up to take control of that bot lane river, probably right after Mr. Fluffy goes to that reset, picks up that Sundered Sky, and now the dragon is up.
This is a weird potential power trough here for Tempo Rush, where Lickable is still not really he's not a damage threat. He's not very tanky. He doesn't have any of those enchanter items completed, so he's not actually giving a ton of stats to Zutter. And down comes Yoshui to show up for this dragon.
Yeah.
I think Tempo Rush are in a bit of a bind here. They're kind of checkmated. I don't see how they can contest for this dragon. Let's see if they try. DDoS is found, almost rooted, has to use the blast cone. Zutter's still stepping up, still feels confident with his one item completed on the Olaf, but I mean, that just puts him at even keel with Mr. Fluffy. Now he's getting walled away. Call of Orange God being channeled over the wall, going to flash forward onto Jameeb.
Well, they got Jameeb.
Gets ultied as well. Lickable gonna get melted down on the opposite side. The Olaf, though, Ragnar rocking and rolling through the rest of the team. Finally gonna get forced out at about a third HP, but now Kino going to sub in the front line, stepping up into that dragon. Yoshui able to pump through damage off the Glacial Storm, though. Noodles has to flash over the wall, and now stuck inside of the pit is Kino, soon to be melted down. A killing spree to Yoshui, and Meebo's Weebos claim the fight 4-for-1.
And the best offense is a good defense, Gordo. That's the lesson of game number 1, at least in the first 12 minutes. Meebo's Weebos, they get engaged onto by the Oran Horn. They all manage to get out almost. Jameeb does go down, but then once all of the cooldowns are gone, then they look for the re-engage. Mr. Fluffy with a beautiful crescent guard. And this is what we talked about in the draft. Meebo's Weebos, once they have control of the river, because of how many zone control tools they have in their kit and in their comp, they're just able to, you know, make it so difficult for Tempo Rush to walk in. Even though they got that Oran Horn, Oran wasn't there. He was over the wall, so you're not going to get the immediate follow-up from him. It was up to Zutter to kind of flash forward and continue his pressure with the Ragnarok, and he wasn't able to do that forever.
Oh, bot lane's exchanging blows once again, and Ostrich has just fallen behind in the damage department. The lethality Varus able to output more than Ostrich can handle. Another recall going to be forced off the back of this one. Want to note that DDoS is probably going Enchanter build this game too. Has the CDR boots, has a tier that I suspect will eventually become Diadem of Songs, and is going to try to go double Enchanter alongside Lickable as their later game scaling strategy, rather than looking for that burst damage that a traditional Lux would. As Zutter maybe going to try to turn this one right back. Does have the Ragnarok going to pop it, taking a lot of damage in very short order, though. Jameeb able to show up and pump that one out, and Ostrich is rooted and stuck. Tries to jump out with the 90 caliber net, but right on top of him goes Mr. Fluffy, and Noodles will go on a killing spree as he finishes the next one.
And now I feel like we're starting to see, even though the Lulu's trying to protect these members of Tempo Rush, it's just not really coming through. You've got the redemption, you've got that first item spike, but part of the reason why we said Tempo Rush were so good with a lot of these Enchanter mid laners was because you're able to use the cheapness of the Enchanter items to get item advantages over your counterpart. We're not seeing that here. Jameeb has Blackfire Torch. He is on even footing gold-wise with Lickable. And I feel like that just means the Lulu really is struggling to find impact in a lot of these fights, as we do have a pause. It looks like Noodles might be the culprit of said pause, Gordo.
Yeah, saw the DC come through there, so give them a little bit of time to figure out exactly what's going on. In the meantime, yeah, I mean, want to talk about that dragon fight again, Quacks? It just, I hate to say I told you so, but it really feels like they did not have the pieces ready to be able to engage in that fight. They were down on itemization on the bottom side. They didn't have something like the redemption completed in mid. Even the redemption feels like it's not the kind of spike that we've gotten to see from stuff like the Melio mid, where they're like rushing these additional buff items to really accelerate one of your carries to be able to really participate in these fights. You know, Olaf can get one fight, one kill. He can flash forward on top of the Victor, take that guy out. But eventually, you're just going to run out of resources. You're going to run out of Lulu Ultimate, and without those items to keep cycling back additional buffs, you know, it's just regular old Olaf.
Yeah, and that kind of feels like the issue. If you're not having that long-term sustainability in fights, then I think it makes the Lulu mid really difficult to derive value from. Another thing that I do want to note on the Lulu mid of that earlier Dragon fight, Gordo, while we still are on the topic, despite the unpause and the game resuming, is Lickable was like 1 HP. He was less than 50%, and the Lulu really had no way of entering that fight, so it just kind of felt like a massive overforce on the side of Tempo Rush. And now Meebo's Weebos kind of reaping the rewards of that, as they're about 4,000-ish gold up over Tempo Rush and starting to whittle down these turrets. We can see that mid is at 1 plate, bot is at 1 plate, and top is at 2. So those grubs really working overtime to help this gold lead be what it is.
Oh, IHL setting a bit of a trap there onto DDoS, who is forced to flash. And yeah, I mean, so much of that gold lead that you're talking about, Quacks, has got to be on Yoshui. Although here is the roam from top, right on top of Jameeb. Nowhere for this Victor to go. Zutter gonna claim his second of the game.
Actually, really good roam there from Kino as well. I mean, you can see that Yoshui actually isn't in the top lane. He's not pushing in that wave. So Ornn isn't really losing resources for making that trip over to the other solo lane. And yeah, good kill. Second for Zutter, like you said, and is going to give more resources over to this Olaf.
Stridge forced to flash again.
Oh, it still lands.
Face check, and wow, this damage is just so much to deal with. Nice shield going to come on through, trying to keep him up. Barrier gets popped as well. Return fire onto Noodles. And Ostrich manages to fight his way out of there. Gets a redemption from mid lane. Lickable with the global to keep his bot laner in lane.
Yeah, little, you know, little care package, right? Care package redemption. Does still mean Ostrich is at about 1 HP, so Caitlyn, regardless, is going to have to tread lightly. But look on the other side of the map. I mean, Mr. Fluffy, despite Jameeb being the one that goes down, Zutter wasn't actually able to convert that kill into threatening an objective. So now the Xin Zhao is going to kind of do that instead. And the way this top lane has been playing out, Gordo, I suspect that Kino isn't able to break the wall.
Fairly certain he can. I think he's just choosing not to.
Oh, no.
As Zutter now going to be trying to go for this engage at the bottom lane. Getting just too fast, though. The shielding from DDoS is not enough. The summoner heal's not there. The Olaf can't hit, and so the Olaf gets hit. Meanwhile, a solo kill for Lickable. Another trade at the bottom side, and it all works out for Tempo Rush anyway. Forget I said anything.
I mean, Lickable does get the shutdown, so that's big for the Lulu to continue going for those support items, but it just kind of felt like off the back of Jameeb really wanting to finish off that tier 1 turret. So Meebo's Weebos, not only do they get turret in mid, but they also get turret in top. Those tier 1s that are extremely vulnerable, all gonna fall within 60 seconds of one another. And now Lulu, you're getting walled, you're getting thrown on an ice storm. I feel you've got nowhere to go.
How far can Whimsy take you? It doesn't look like too far. Oh, the shield, though, keeping him up. And now Zutter going to be waiting on the opposite side. Doesn't have the Ragnarok, but doesn't need it. If Anivia's just face walking into you, going to be able to get out of there. Walled off. You know, does it to cut off the Olaf initially, and then ends up cutting off himself. Both parties going to disengage. There's going to be a second dragon over to Meebo's Weebos, though.
Yeah, Lickable, I mean, despite not going down, still had his back canceled, and so the Lulu not going to be able to join up for the fight on the dragon. There will be no fight on the dragon, like you said. Meebo's Weebo is going to claim that one with ease. And now Ostrich way overextended, but the bind, I think, going to be able to get him out, I think. Nope.
Oh, the wall perfectly placed there. Ostrich doomed from the start, as Mr. Fluffy, at the cost of his flash, will claim Ostrich's life once again.
Ostrich going down, and now Meebo's Weebos going to be able to significantly extend that vision line. I love how aggressively they're playing in Tempo Rush's jungle on this bot side. You can see those wards are being placed down. Herald now going to be summoned on up by Meebo's Weebos to just keep the pressure on. And Tempo Rush really without any room to breathe. This is kind of the difficulty that we said might transpire in the draft, where Lickable, even though he's there to support Zutter and Ostrich, if he's not going to be able to get freed from the lane, if Jameeb is just going to constantly be pushing him in and preventing him to be able to move around the map as this support, it's going to be really tough to actually give the resources necessary to the carries of this comp. And we're seeing that in real time. I think Lickable has had minimal impact on the map, and it's largely due to Meebo's Weebos just constantly being up in their face and forcing these Tempo Rush players under their turrets.
Good. understanding of the role there too. Like I think Jameeb has given up, you know, maybe an extra death or two compared to what he necessarily had to, because he's constantly keeping that wave shoved in, but it's paid off, right? Lickable has to spend the whole game under his turret, and that might be worth letting Zutter get a little bit of extra gold, as long as it is just Zutter rolling up to these fights, right? He doesn't have the ghost on the Olaf. He needs this Lulu to be able to speed him up, slow them down, to make these things work. The Shirelli is the second item completed, of course, to help assist in just that. YHL a little bit cut off. Good footwork, though, evading some of the skills from the Lux. Call the Forge God comes on through, gonna find the knockup.
Oh, he's angry!
Meebo trying to fight off Zutter, but he's just walking on through. Shorts the undertow, trying to fall back away, cannot get the healing in time. Lickable not able to bail him out, nor is DDoS. Echoes of Helia plus Redemption just don't come through in time. It's a 1-for-1 trade.
Fancy feat there for YHL. He goes down, but he forces Zutter to flash over the wall, so there really is no escape for the Olaf. It's a 1-for-1 trade, and now with 20 minutes on the Baron, or 20 minutes on the game, and Baron spawned, jungler down, they're just gonna go for it right off rip, Gordo.
Wow, they are indeed. DDoS making his way over. Final Spark is going to be available, though it's Echoes of Helia Lux, so the damage is not exactly going to be there. And it looks like either the call is to give it up, or they're not even 100% sure it's happening. Okay, they know, but they do decide to give it up. Dangling out the Final Spark to see if something of value can be found, but that was low percentage anyway. Baron buff to Meebo's Weebos, a 6K lead to them. A tremendous start to this series.
A lot of that I gotta give credit over to Noodles. I feel like this is a player who, you know, we kind of saw last time in the most recent series that we covered them in, as Ostrich gonna dodge out on that ultimate there, but he's really come through. I feel like we didn't get a proper look at him. He just got focused down by Smalls and Co. in their series against Calamity, so nice little bit of redemption for him on the broadcast.
The old adage is that there's always a bigger fish, but finding a smaller fish here today.
Seems like there's a smaller fish. Yeah,
turning the bullying back around.
You know, yeah. Like Smalls is the big one, Noodles is medium-sized, and at the current moment, Ostrich is the small boy.
Yeah, prolonging the cycle of violence here, our Meebo's Weebos, as they went out on a huge bot lane matchup, fresh off of a tough one on last Friday. Meebo's Weebos take down the mid-inner turret here, continuing to balloon this gold lead. So much money being picked up off this Baron. I'm pretty sure the Baron power play on this would be very, very high. And they don't have really a reason to stop this push. The wave clear from Tempo Rush is pretty unsubstantial. They did not draft this comp with the expectation that they would at any point be this far behind, and it's making things tough. They kind of just have to pull it. There's the destroy of the wall. See, he can't do it. It doesn't matter, but he could do it. Now the stun. Gonna come back through from Yoshi. Kino gonna take a little bit of abuse on the backside. Mr. Fluffy arriving off the flank, and I mean, that was their full send. That was the best maneuver they could do to break this siege, and it ain't breaking, Quacks.
Yeah, that, you know, we can finally get to see the wall break, but at this point, like, you're so far down, you're 8,000 gold behind as Tempo Rush, so really all I can give it is like a big, dumb, cartoonish thumbs up, right? Like, that's pretty cool. But does it do anything? No.
Definitely not in this scenario, and definitely not in lane. You need really specific circumstances, which I could see coming together in a game where this is closer. Right. Oh my goodness, that Arcane Comet damage is just ridiculous. What did they do to that rune with the range buffs? Ostrich takes like 250 damage from the Comet. Down he goes.
Yep, and double inhib gonna be claimed here for Meebo's Weebos. And more waves pushing in. Baron's still active. They can look for an end here. There's no Ragnarok for Zutter, so the engage options for Tempo Rush are extremely limited.
There's going to be the advance forward from Mr. Fluffy. It's a 5 versus 4 trying to end the game. Root going to spread forward onto DDoS, and he just gets eviscerated. Noodle's going to be able to land that combo and finish that one off. Zutter now going to step up, trying to fight this one out. Does not have the Ragnarok even close to up, and will be melted down by the full 5-man squad of Meebo's Weebos. Ostrich is back, but now he's stuck in the front line. Gets his net blocked away by a well-placed wall from Yoshi. Mr. Fluffy going to get saved by YHL, blocking out of the ace of the hole. Ostrich going to get forced back into the fountain, and there's a flash forward from Yoshi to claim one final body for the scoreboard. Meebo's Weebos, game number 1 win in 23-40.
Really convincing stuff from them, and honestly, credit to the draft. We were talking about the value of that Anivia. And I'm glad we were proved right, Gordo, because those walls were providing so much space, making so much power on the siege, and really just is what I think allowed Meebo's Weebos to keep on pushing, right? Like we were saying, oh, they don't have to stop. They can keep going. It was because of the Anivia. It was because of the ult. It was because of the wall. It was because really nobody on Tempo Rush was able to walk up to the wave to actually take it, because then they would get walled and had no way to really jump over that obstacle. So yeah, Anivia with a ton of value in that game, and you love to see it.
Yeah, I think going to be a little bit of an unsung story of that game, on top of being a really well-drafted composition from Meebo's Weebos to counter out what Tempo Rush was going for. Love the Anivia top decision. They also were able to get that 2v2 double in the bottom lane after, not too long in the game. And that really broke the one early point of power that Tempo Rush was supposed to be able to play for. They stopped being able to stack their dragons. They stopped being able to win out in the 2v2 from that play onward because of all the extra gold that Noodles got in his pocket. They lost opportunities to make bot lane dives to put Zutter further ahead. And it just all really snowballed from there. They lost out on that one early point of power. And from there, Meebo's Weebos were ahead, and they were able to consistently accelerate the game from that point onward. Really, really good game from them. Really clean game from them.
Yeah, there isn't a ton to say. I feel like every single player on Meebo's Weebos kind of pulled their weight, and then they came together. Really, the thing that kind of broke open the game, though, was that dragon fight. I think that Tempo Rush significantly overestimated their chances of actually being able to reclaim space against a comp like that. And they had their mid laner at like 30% HP. So I feel like that was just a massive overforce. And then Meebo's Weebos kind of stomped that fight, got the objective, and then from there, the floodgates were open. And unfortunately, Tempo Rush kind of drowned.
Definitely. Well, that's 1-0 lead in this elimination best of 3 to Meebo's Weebos. Tempo Rush with their backs against the wall. Need to rip off 2 wins in a row here to get themselves into top 8 and keep themselves alive in the ACL. Meebo's Weebos now 1 win away from being able to claim the same and eliminate Tempo Rush. We're going to throw it to a quick break so these teams can get ready for game number 2, but do got to shout out ZenMarket first, your one-stop solution for buying products directly from Japan. They'll help you buy items from over 10,000 shops, as well as place bids on auctions on your behalf. And they'll consolidate all your items safely into one box that can ship internationally. They provide excellent customer service in 19 languages, which is why ZenMarket is trusted by over 2 million users worldwide. Check out the panel below the stream or click the link in chat to try them out now. If you sign up with promo code Aegis, you'll get 3,000 yen off your first international shipping fee. Thank you to ZenMarket for sponsoring Aegis and the ACL, and we will see you all after the break.
これ着てみたいな。
ここだ。って衣装の数がこんなに？
迷っちゃいました。ウィッグをお探しです。
リボンの種類が豊富なんですよ。見ます？
鎧と内緒。空のことを助けなあかんのに。待って。いろいろ教えてくれるのは嬉しいけど、大事なのは空。このキャラのアニメ版の衣装が欲しいんだ。サイズはこれ。ウィッグは大丈夫。
ありがとう、ゼンマーケット。
Welcome back, everybody, to tonight's broadcast of the ACL here on Aegis, where we have got ourselves a 1-0 lead to Meebo's Weebos after a really strong showing in game number 1. Tempo Rush cannot get their Olaf funnel composition off the ground and now find themselves down 0-1. Backs against the wall. It's 2-0 reverse sweep or nothing, Quacks.
Yeah, and now this is kind of where I think it's going to be really interesting to see the direction that Tempo Rush go in, because they're, one loss away from being in Shadow Realm, right? Like they need to win this game and subsequently this series in order to keep themselves alive in the ACL. So I wonder if now that, the stakes are really there, like they're literally staring down at an abyss, if they are going to be sticking with that kind of unorthodox style that we've seen from them, or if they're going to be like, all right, let's lock in maybe some more traditional stuff. Let's pilot ourselves some more standard comps that maybe aren't flavorful for us as a team, don't kind of go with our stylistic choice most of the time, but are a little bit more consistent and easy to execute.
We'll see. I'm curious. I feel like if you're Tempo Rush here, you got to keep to your style, right? I think it's really easy to diagnose what went wrong in that game number 1, right? We lost our lead in bot. We took a crazy fight in second dragon that we just had no chance in hell of winning. Maybe we feel like we need to take that second dragon and we need a miracle to even pull back in the game. Maybe the game was already lost before that fight. I don't know just how breakneck pace this Olaf comp needed to be, but they definitely fell off pace early and never got back on it. So you can draft comp. I'm sure they have comps in their repertoire that don't need to go quite so fast, but are still, unique and spicy and trying to take advantage of, underserved areas of the League of Legends meta. But I would be very shocked if they come back out here to just play meta champs. And I think if they did do that, it would be to their detriment.
We'll have to wait and see as we are on to the draft for game number 2. Let's take a little bit of a step, though, away from Meebo's Weebos, or not Meebo's Weebos, from Tempo Rush, because even though they are the team that is, susceptible to getting knocked out here, I do really want to keep giving credit over to Meebo's Weebos. I feel like this team, we were a little bit sad to see them against, I think, Calamity last week. They were the 3rd seed going against the 6th seed. This is a team that they have played before. This is a team that they were favored to beat, and they got 0-2'd by them. So I think to see Meebo's Weebos, and particularly Noodles, kind of have a bounce back game was really entertaining to see. It's the bigger fish analogy that we made up. Now maybe, who knows, we'll see Ostrich grow like Clifford the Big Red Dog, and he'll maybe be a bigger fish than Noodles.
He's the largest bird in the world, so could very well play out that way. Yoshui had a really great game as well. I think, coming out, we didn't get to see that Meebo's Weebos team too much. They came in kind of undersung. Obviously, they were seated very low. They weren't really on our radar for featured matches. And by the time that the season had progressed, it was really tough to find featured matches with them to be able to highlight them. So we didn't really get to show them on stream much up until last Friday. And then we come in, we watch them on stream last Friday. This is also a uniquely difficult to scout season because we don't have all the stats and the match history because the API is busted. So it was really hard to know much about Meebo's Weebos from us on the broadcast standpoint. So we come in on Friday. I think Meebo comes away from that night looking the best, and I think everybody else doesn't really have too much to show for it. So to come in today and have Noodles and YHL have a really strong lane phase, to have Yoshui have a really strong game on a unique pick that not many folks play. I think Mr. Fluffy was really solid as well. He goes deathless. He has a lot of really great team fights. Good stuff from Meebo's Weebos. Again, kind of feeding into this idea that they just feel like a solid, complete team. And that's so funny because that's like an archetype that so rarely succeeds in the ACL. I know. Like we so frequently have lower ranked, newer players come together, play standard League of Legends. Maybe they played in Masters Leagues before or something like that and have been top teams over there. And then they come in and they just bust. They just cannot stand up to the strongest teams. Not like that, brother.
I didn't say anything.
I know, but You did with your heart. They just can't stand up to some of the top teams in the ACL. But Meebo's Weebos have come in, and they did stand up to the top teams in the ACL. They stood up to a team that I thought was going to win this ACL in Milky Sports Brazil and sent them packing. So, and with the assistance of Tempo Rush were the team to eventually eliminate them.
Yeah,
but really, like, I don't know. I'm
Tempo Rush got the kill. Meebo's Weebos got the assist. Yeah,
I'm fascinated by this team.
It was a collective effort. Yeah, it is a really fun team to look at. I think story-wise makes me a little sad that they're not in OQs. Again, I'm going to keep reiterating that. As now that all of the bans have been finished off and away, Meebo's Weebos again sticking with the 3 marksmen to take away, and Tempo Rush with the Master Yi lock in immediately. We said maybe they're going to divert or they're going to divulge back into some standard League of Legends because now, you know, things need to, you know, get consistency. Screw all that. Screw all of that. To hell with that, Gordo. Master Yi lock in. Not even late into the draft. This is right away from them.
Come back, Munchie. I missed you, man. It's good to have it back. This Corgi's interesting too. This Corgi might be for Lickable. It might be for Ostrich. That's still out on the table. You know, obviously, Zutter and Munchie are different players, but it's broke my heart to see Munchie only get 1 game of Master Yi in the NACL the whole season.
He did get a game of Rengar too, so
he did get a game of Rengar as well. But still, I would have liked more than 1 game of Master Yi for him, especially because like that was when the team was doing well. They were like having close series at the beginning of the season, and the Master Yi game was going well. It was like going according to plan, and they just never went back to it.
It's Marivel. You know, like that's kind of a common theme with OQs is like you can do good in the early game, but then like late game decision making, team fighting kind of becomes center stage, and just the top teams really take over in that regard. Anyway, on to this series though. Like you said, Corki going to be locked in here for Tempo Rush. Meebo's Weebos comp though, haven't really been able to check in with them just because of the level of surprise we've had from the Master Yi. So Jarvan, Ryze, and Shen, all topsiders here for Meebo's Weebos, and we didn't get to see it last time we covered them, but we did talk about how Yoshui loves the Shen. It wasn't a pick that we got to see in their most recent best of 3 on stream, but we have been talking about this as something that they could bust out. And now I feel like looking at what Meebo's Weebos have so far, I really feel that my curiosity is in what other engagers they'll bring up, because they do have the Jarvan to start up a fight, but I wouldn't be surprised if they give YHL something like a Nautilus, if they maybe want to give him something like a Rel, something that can go in with this Jarvan and give Shen more targets to ult onto to join up in the fight.
Yeah, they do really like to play through Yoshui on Shen. That's been a big pick for them throughout the season. It got permabanned by Calamity, got a lot of respect out of that team in the upper bracket. Does come through this time, and now I no longer believe it's Corki mid, because I believe it's Melio mid, baby. This is gonna be Lickable piloting the boy in the mid lane, I'm almost certain.
I mean, I like this for being able to facilitate champions like Corki and Yi, but this laning phase feels like a ticking time bomb for Tempo Rush. I mean, you are giving Ryze a really easy time to just farm, do his thing, get his items. There's going to be very little pressure in the 1v1 that actually kind of forces Jameeb out of the lane. Yes, those super mega fire kicks, when they are fully maxed and once you get some AP under your belt, will do a bit of harassment damage, but Ryze is a tankier mid laner. I mean, this guy is going to be going for Roa. He's going to be going for Seraphs. Like, he's building more defensive. So I feel like the harassment that we've seen from the Melio come through here from Tempo Rush in the past isn't going to be as applicable into a champion like Ryze, who will be able to tank it better.
Yeah, I think this is a clear Nami ban for Meebo's Weebos. I think you definitely want to take away. You know, if they're going to go double Enchanter, they're going to go double Enchanter. But all right, going to ban away the Brawl
paired up with the E, I can understand that.
I suppose. By the way, if you think the Melios are taking time bomb at mid lane, wait until you see the Zillion mid.
Maybe we won't get to see it. It might be a 2-0.
I'm sorry. I had to, I couldn't resist.
It's presumptuous of you. You're hyping them up and they haven't even won a game in the series yet, Gordo.
I'm just saying they played Zillion mid. I've been waiting for the Zillion mid from Lickable all season long to be on stream. He played at least 2 games of it, maybe more, post API death. Tom Kench means maybe we aren't in double support world, or maybe we're in triple support world, and this is top lane Tom Kench into the Shen.
It could be, yeah, it could be TK top. That would be really
Oh my god, wait, is this gonna be the Dusk and Dawn Tom Kench?
Yeah, this is gonna be like
God.
full heal, unkillable Tom Kench build. Haven't seen it yet in competitive, so I'm wondering how it is going to fare. There is a lot of healing on Tempo Rush right here, and so now that kind of interests me on what Meebo's Weebos want to go for with this last pick. Something that can easily apply healing cut would be nice, but then like also I think Renata Callista has a lot of value here, just because Corki is probably going to be scrapping with you for most of the laning phase, so having that bailout probably gives you the slight edge, and also could help to disengage the Master Yi, right? You've got a lot of auto attack reliant players on Tempo Rush, a lot of champions on Tempo Rush, so I think Renata has a lot of value with that ultimate. On top of that, if they want to lock that in, I would be in favor of it. Still though, my biggest concern is just that if this Yi gets out of control, I don't feel like especially with all of the defense here from Melio and Tom Kench, like that is absolutely insane. As Camille going to be the lock in here, that's Camille's support. Poppy coming through as well. So I think it's Poppy. So okay, so hang on, I got this. So it's TK top, Yi jungle, Melio mid, Corki, Poppy bot lane. Poppy against the Camille is a massive, like, proverbial screw you. Like this
But
is
here's
going
the question: is it Camille top or is it Shen top Camille support with the Callista?
I think it's Shen top Camille support.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that if you're looking at Yoshui, yeah, if Yoshui is the Shen guy, there's no reason they shouldn't be giving Shen over to him. Yeah, so it is going to be Camille support. So these lane assignments are a lot more difficult for Meebo's Weebos here in game number 2. We talked about how they really got their way in the draft of game number 1, being able to just pick all of these disengagers, being able to get all of the zone control, and basically making it so that Tempo Rush could never really link up with one another. I feel like that is not as strong in game number 2. I think that even though you've got things like the Shen ultimate, you've got some of that global pressure from your solo lanes, it still isn't going to prevent Likeable from being able to link up with Zutter. And that was the big thing that I think prevented Tempo Rush from being able to get ahead in game number 1. This Lulu was jailed under her turret the entire time, and I don't think that is going to be the case with the Melio. I think your wave clear with the Q, once you get some points into it, is a little bit better, and I don't think Rise's shove is as strong as a champion like Victor. So if Tempo Rush can get Zutter and Lickable together, if they can group up around these rivers, I feel like they will have an easier time, and Meebo's Weebos comp doesn't feel like it's as strong to prevent that.
I definitely agree with you there. I think the Poppy is insane in this draft as well. Just completely hoses Callista. Very good into the Camille. Great pick for DDoS here on the R5. I do expect to see the stupid Dusk and Dawn Tom Kench. Oh man, that's going to be a pain for sure. That's going to give them a lot of individual lockdown. If, you know, somebody like Jameeb ends up getting ahead, I think they're going to have a really reliable way to, you know, this is like a Mordekaiser ult now for Kino. Like, it's just so reliable to be able to get on top of somebody and devour them up. Obviously not quite Mordekaiser level reliable, but a little bit closer than you may be comfortable with. My only question is, there are still, you know, aspects of this comp that I think work very well into what Tempo Rush has gone for. I think the anti-Yi capabilities here are significant. Really good to have Shen up against Yi. Really good to have Rise against Yi. I think my only concern here is if Zutter ends up being the sole carry, it could be a problem for them.
It absolutely could be. We've seen games like this before from Tempo Rush where despite the crowd control and the ability to try and burst down one target, the healing and the utility from Tempo Rush's more supportive aspects of their comp is just too much. You can't get through it, and I feel like this is a game where that could definitely be the case, and Meebo's Weebos aren't as prepared for it the second time around.
All right, welcome back to Summoner's Rift, everybody. Meebo's Weebos up 1-0 against Tempo Rush, looking to lock themselves a spot in top 8 and eliminate Tempo Rush here and now. Tempo Rush trying to fight their way back I like this draft for them a lot more. I think they don't need to win this game in like 25 minutes the way that they did in game number 1. And I like stuff like the Poppy that they've gone for in this draft. Feels like it's going to be very strong for them.
Yeah, it's going to make, I think, the Kallista's life a lot more difficult. This is a 2v2 that, you know, is kind of on a timer, and it's going to be very often that we see things like that. Try and hook shot into the 2v2 of Tempo Rush and immediately get hit with the Steadfast Presence. That is the big interaction that we'll be looking for, and that is going to significantly harm Noodles and YHL's ability to get out to an early lead on Kallista Camille.
That's crazy. I can't believe adaptive armor read Poppy as a magic damage shield. That's just unlucky for YHL. Poppy, like, Hammer Shock does physical damage. I don't know if what ability you level has impact on that or not. That's some deep game knowledge of Camille that I just do not have. But the fact that Camille passive popped a magic damage shield that just did nothing to the harassment coming in made life real tough for YHL.
Yeah, that is a really interesting interaction. I'm actually trying to see if there is a reason why the magic damage shield got popped.
It's supposed to read based on the enemy champion what their primary damage is, like, at that point in time. So, like, it will, like, give you magic damage shields even against, like, you know, like an early game Mundo or something, because it understands that the majority of the damage...
It might be the passive auto. It's probably the passive auto, I think.
Yeah. It's supposed to be, like, adaptive. It's supposed to be, like, smart and give you stuff that's useful in you know, edge case scenarios, but I guess this is one of those cases where it just did not because of the Corki.
Yeah. So, bit unfortunate there for the bot lane, but now both junglers have finished up their full clears. Mr. Fluffy going to be first to the crab, so he should be able to get that. Zutter going to be relegated to the top side crab, so could maybe get the Rise out to an early tempo lead here, but Meebo's Weebos are actually pinging onto the top side river and maybe just want to try and double crab this Yi.
Well, Zutter going to get a little bit of backup from Likeable, but I don't think that's going to be enough for him. So Zutter going to be forced to flash away, gets the summoner heal from Likeable as well, can meditate through another Jameeb combo, and now Jameeb's out of mana. So Zutter gets away, mission accomplished, will be double scuttled, so it's not a win, but does stay alive.
We can see because the camps are spawning soon, Zutter is actually forced to stay on the map, and Mr. Fluffy, he knows that. He's pinging onto the Krugs, no flash on the Yi. He's just going to keep living in his jungle.
Yeah, but, I mean, this feels like... Oh, no, never mind. Kino misses the tongue lash. That's pretty rough, but Zutter thinks he can win this one-on-one. Tries for the point-blank knock-up at top side. It's one-on-ones in the jungle and the top side, and they're both incredibly close. Kino and Zutter falling incredibly low. Zutter going to take the recall. Mr. Fluffy trying to do much the same. Zutter cancels his recall. He's staying out on the map. The top laners are staying out of the map, too. We're not out of the woods yet, Quacks.
Yeah, so Mr. Fluffy looks for an engage, doesn't manage to really get it. Yi just better in the 1v1 with that lethal tempo. So is going to be forced to take a reset. Is actually going to redeploy onto the map on his bot side. So it looks like he just wants to make sure that he is mirroring clears with Yi. Wants to keep up in pace with him rather than go to that top side and fall behind getting to that bot lane.
Adaptive defenses have caught up with the game now that Poppy has actually leveled Q. So it does give you physical armor now. Still, you can see it's a tough life for Camille in this matchup. Just tries to dive in, immediately gets bonked away. But that hasn't stopped Noodles from building up a faint CS lead in this bottom lane. And they are getting hovered by Mr. Fluffy, as you say. Zutter in the area as well. Mr. Fluffy going to get aggressive. Jameeb is in the area, has access to the Realm Warp. They're setting up for a dive on this bottom lane. This might be dicey up against the Poppy. Let's see if they end up going for it.
Yeah, they don't really have a stacked wave here, so their timer would be extremely short, and Jameeb has to get back to mid, like Lickable is pushing in that wave, so Rise wants to make sure that he is not dropping any resources to make this play possible, and it's going to fizzle out. Meebo's Weebos still just looking for these plays. I do have to say, even though Mr. Fluffy kind of had a blunder looking for Zutter on his respawned Krugs, he has had, I think, a really intelligent couple of decision-making things happen over the past couple of minutes. Now he's going on to the dragon, but Yi is also in the area. Realm Warp going to be channeled, though.
His first dragon going the way of Mr. Fluffy. Zutter more okay with this than he was in game number 1, as he is just trying to farm up on this Yi, just trying to scale into the game. But lane leads across the board for Meebo's Weebos is going to build them up to about a 500 gold lead here pretty early in the game, plus the dragon. DDoS late on the steadfast presence that time, and it will cost him a fair bit of his health.
Yeah. And we can see, I think Fluffy is probably 1 camp away from getting level 6. So should have access to that Cataclysm any second now. And then that's really when we expect the Jarvan to be making moves in these lanes. He has been applying pressure to the game, Gordo, but has been doing so onto Zutter. Hasn't really bothered to impact the 1v1s or the 2v2s. It really has just been about making this Yi's life as miserable as humanly possible, which, to his credit, that should be the goal. Yi really is kind of the funnel point of this tempo rush comp, so I feel like he's been doing a good job so far, but now access to that ultimate does give him more options in, you know, getting toward those lanes.
It's true. I do think a lot of these champions are going to get a lot more dangerous once they get onto these item power spikes. Kino is going for the first item, Heartsteel, which is standard. Most Tahm Kench tops go Heartsteel into Dusk and Dawn these days, so I suspect that will be the build for him. So not going to have the silly combo quite immediately, but still very well might end up going for it here. I suspect that he will even support Tahm Kench's go a Dusk and Dawn eventually. Most of the time these days, it's just a little too powerful to not do.
Yeah. I'm wondering how that's going to impact the mid to late game, though.
DDoS. Well, now he's going to have to flash away. Double knock up off the Fate's call. Ostrich getting locked down. Has to flash out to safety. DDoS charges back in to push away the enemy. But first blood will go the way of Noodles.
And now they're going to be able to get plates on top of that. YHL looking for more. Zutter is in the area, but the Camille is really far.
YHL really looking to get those last couple of shots in. Meebo flashes forward to finish the job onto Ostrich. Going to lose some turret plates for his efforts to the bottom side, but takes down both of the bot laners from Tempo Rush. 2k gold lead to Meebo's Weebos. A huge wave getting deleted by this turret. And Meebo's Weebos, they take a second visit for the bot lane dive, and this time it pays off.
Yeah, Yoshui channeled that ultimate onto YHL. That's why he was so confident to look for that re-engage. It does get canceled because of Kino, but still, the shield gives the Camille that survivability. And, you know, it's kind of like when your parents would... I'm trying to think of an analogy here. Did you ever have your parents, like, sneakily take off the training wheels of your bike to get you to ride it without those? It's kind of like that. It gives you that confidence, but it's nothing actually changed.
I get that. I get that. Or like when they stop holding on to the bike and you're not
right. But they said
here, by the way, he's gonna get blown up. That's Meebo.
He's gonna get run over by a bike.
Yeah, he's bowled over for sure. Scraped knees abound for Kino as he falls. Going to get his second Giant's belt, but second kill to Meebo. But now Lickable is the next target. They're going all over the map here. Cataclysm over the wall from Mr. Fluffy. How often do you see a Cataclysm to clear the Raptor wall without flash?
Yeah, that is definitely a sight to behold, but now Meebo's Weebos kind of just winning out across the map here. Mr. Fluffy has access to those grubs. You can see he's on the top side, so MW should be able to get both objectives. YHL, not really in any harm. He should just be able to hook shot over the wall. And Tempo Rush looking for opportunities to try and get this Yi ahead, but not really able to find anything so far, Gordo. This is another game where it just kind of feels like there is a disconnect between jungle and mid.
Agree. It's been tough for them, again, to find opportunities for Zutter. I do think it's tough to blame it all on one quick little interaction, but we saw in that bot lane dive, that became possible because DDoS was too slow on the reaction with the steadfast presence that let that fight get started. And you really got to hope for Tempo Rush's sake that this isn't a second game in a row that gets decided through an errant bot lane 2v2.
Yep. Dragon up in about 5 seconds here. Just about to get on to Summoner's Rift. Tempo Rush actually have a pretty good deep vision line. You can see those wards in the bot side jungle will spot out where Meebo's Weebos are kind of redeploying on the map too. But I just feel like that is not actually going to do anything. Sure, you have the information, but you're not actually going to be able to get them away from this bot side river. I feel they are ahead at the current moment. They also have shove in both mid and bot. So Zutter, despite knowing that it is happening, like he isn't going to be able to do anything about it.
Just going to try to get as much of an itemization, you know, not advantage, but buffer coming into Dragon number 3 or maybe even Dragon number 4. They should be able to get items by Dragon number 3. Here's going to be a quick punt out from the likes of DDoS, and it's going to leave Jameeb out to dry, though. Is he alone? Stand United from the likes of Yoshui will back up his mid laner, and Ostrich will fall once again.
And I mean, Yoshui also has teleport to get immediately back to. This isn't toxic at all, by the way. Makes a cross map play with the Shen, and then back like he never left, Gordo.
That was off the Realm Warp from Rise, too. So just two people who were nowhere near bot just show up on a quick trip, and now Lickable getting ultied once again. This time does not have the flash to be able to escape. Utilizes the exhaust to try to buy a little bit of additional time. Utilizes the breath of life. Stays alive. Now here comes the collapse from Zutter. This shutdown would be a lot of money back in the pockets of Mr. Yi, but cannot quite get on top of him. Had the flash. Chooses not to take it. Now moving back on over. Getting the Raptors engaged in this fight. Going to go back into the Alpha Strike. Dodging back away. Kino now up in the front line. Has a little backup from his pal Lickable to keep sustaining him on up. Devours up YHL. Gonna spin him back underneath the turret, goes into the Hextech ultimatum, tries to stay alive, but DDoS going to be able to finish off that execution. Really well placed. Abyssal dive, going to find the knock up here onto Yoshui, getting slowed up, getting focused down. None of these members have any damage, but finally Kano will get the job done. Tongue lash for the stun, and 2 kills go back to Tempo Rush.
Tom Kench Top making the difference here, Gordo. Now Zutter is in Mr. Fluffy's jungle. Mr. Fluffy wanting to try and get a lick of KFC on the chickens, but won't be able to do so. Noodles trying to join the fight, but I don't think he can unless he wanted to commit that flash to engage, but that is a risk in of itself. And I feel like Meebo's Weebos just kind of taking an unnecessary risk by going for that fight. I feel after you flag and drag kind of got Zutter away from the fight and got Jameeb out of that initial bind near the Raptors, you could have disengaged the fight, but they wanted to look for more because YHL had kind of joined the area. He ends up getting taken down, and just some gold given over to Tempo Rush. Though, I guess, you know, silver lining, Zutter did not get the gold.
Zutter going to be able to follow the flag and drag with Alpha Strike. Is he going to regret it? Gets locked down, goes into the meditation, tries to stay up. Lickable with the warm hugs will keep him standing, and just barely able to navigate his way out of here, but it costs Lickable Summoner heal, and it costs Zutter his flash.
Yup, a lot of resources burned from Tempo Rush, and a lot of crucial ones. Zutter won't have that flash by the time this dragon spawns in a little less than 2.5 minutes, and that would be soul point for Meebo's Weebos, so leaves him as an easy target. I think it's really going to be on the Tempo Rush supporting cast, i.e. Lickable and DDoS, to keep him alive because of that lack of flash. If they do want to contest that, I would not necessarily advocate for going for a play like that if they don't feel comfortable, but there are inherent risks with letting them get the dragon.
Fate's call right back on in. They will not let DDoS get away with this, whether or not he has the steadfast presence. One bonk, immediately undone. Really good stuff there from Noodles, knowing that he can Fate's call even when YHL is grounded, and just gets him right back onto DDoS's head.
Yup. These turrets are also very close to falling, so I feel like Meebo's Weebos have just been slowly but surely whittling down the HP of those, and kind of similar to what we saw in game number 1, they're all going to fall within rapid succession or relative rapid succession of one another. Herald is also up, so I feel like Mr. Fluffy has the option to go for that and should absolutely take that, as top lane scrapping is getting a little out of hand here.
You know, falling pretty low, going to go into the shield, going to go into the point blank abyssal dive, but he's tried these shenanigans before, and they will not pay off.
And look at that, Mr. Fluffy even gets an assist, drops the flag, and gets attack speed bonus there for 1 auto on the Shen. He's helping.
Has to flash the wall. Noodles! Ash Rend knows his thresholds. And down goes the Corki.
Yeah, another game where Noodles, you know, credit over to him. We were kind of doubting the ability for this Poppy, or not this Poppy, this Camille Callista duo to really hit the ground running when you've got a Poppy to deal with. But he's now 3-0, has that Cole completed, 2 items as well, so is doing really well for himself. Meebo's Weebos continuing just dominate this game, showing that execution is kind of the biggest factor in a game, right? We had questions about the draft. I feel like we were, you know, a little bit more on Tempo Rush's side to be able to take this game. Last game, it kind of looked doomed from the start, just with the amount of disengage that Meebo's Weebos had. But this time, it felt a little bit closer. It has not been close in the execution whatsoever. MW are going to get their 3rd dragon. They're going to get down to the Soul Point, and Tempo Rush are going to continue to be starved.
Now locked down here is Zutter trying to turn it back on a YHL, but here's the backup from the Stand United once again. What a night so far for Yoshui, but the fight is going to continue. Kino stepping up, trying to return a little bit of damage back on towards these members, but it just can't do it. And his main carry in Zutter is already down. Yoshui is so valuable on the Shen, and he does the same thing again, by the way, just ports right back up the top. He's going to take this turret.
And it's arguably more impactful this time because now Kino doesn't have teleport to respond. Shen will be able to push in the wave and probably get a plate for himself as he's getting closer and closer, like we said, to being able to claim that turret. I don't think he'll be able to do it. No, won't be able to do it this time, but yeah, does get a plate. More gold over to the Shen despite not getting the kill. And Meebo's Weebos, this is a rough game for Tempo Rush. This is a rough series for Tempo Rush. Zutter now engaged again.
Man just can't get his own chickens. Just doesn't have the option, and Noodles looking to claim another tower here, up basically a whole item over the Corki, and definitely feeling that advantage here. You know, still duking it out. Chill just trying to stack up this Heart Steal. Things are going from bad to worse for Tempo Rush. They're down about 6,000 gold now. You're gonna have to fight at Dragon number 4. They can get onto a couple more item spikes. They would certainly appreciate it. And they're going to try to get some objective bounties here. Realm Warp used in the bottom lane by Jameeb to get himself away from the collapsing Zutter. And the exchange is going to be for Rift Herald.
Yeah, Herald going to be popped up there, so we'll give them some free, easy access likely into that bot side river. I wouldn't be surprised if, unless a giant team fight comes through here in the next 3 or so minutes, I think Meebo's Weebos are probably going to be saving that Herald for that Dragon Soul and just kind of out macroing Tempo Rush in that regard. I don't think Tempo Rush really have any business starting up a fight, and Meebo's Weebos at this point don't really need to start a fight. So they can just kind of play the game on their own terms, continue to scale up. Arise is now at 8 stacks of that Roa, by the way, so 2 more and he will be able to get it fully stacked, and then he'll really start to hit the ground. I think at the same time he'll get 2 items. So Jameeb has silently been kind of scaling up in this game and will kind of hit that threshold where he becomes even more of a threat.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be big power spikes coming through for Meebo's Weebos at the same time that their Soul Drake spawns up. Tempo Rush, I think, are fully indexed into needing to challenge for this, but I think they may have fallen too far behind here. Zutter caught out the worst possible target to get found in this situation, trying to stay back up, trying to fight it out, stuck inside the Cataclysm, will fall, Alpha Strike or not. And Zutter will be down for 30 seconds. This is a Rift Herald thrown into bottom lane, and Tempo Rush just do not have the resources to deal with it. Noodles has found Ostrich, exhausts him, and runs him down. This guy is cooked. Meebo's Weebos, 5 versus 3 on the map, looking to break open the base at 20 minutes.
I actually wonder if they can take this a step further. The tower is likely going to fall, but I think they should probably give up their pursuit of pushing on this bot side once they get that. Don't want to be giving those supers over to Tempo Rush too early on in the game. I mean, after all, Baron just spawned. Baron just spawned and we have a 10,000 gold lead difference, Gordo. So I feel like that should speak to the caliber of Meebo's Weebos. Again, you kind of said it in the pre-show of game number 2. This is a squad who is kind of a unicorn in regards to how they came to be, right? This feels like a 5 friends in a dream-esque group and a lot of players that we haven't seen before, and they're playing standard League of Legends. They are out macroing teams with well-established orgs, well-established players, and it is an awesome thing to see. They are really making Tempo Rush's usual style look obsolete with just some clean-ass League of Legends.
Yeah, not in the OQ. Never had members in the NACL. Nothing fancy like that. But still rolling up and on the verge of locking top 8 in this ACL. YHL gonna get jumped on. This is probably the last gasp of Tempo Rush. In with the Cataclysm. DDoS gonna be able to knock out 3. It's a 4 versus 2 against the carries for a couple seconds. This is the best bet they're gonna have all game long. A flash devour from Kino will trade 1-for-1 with Noodles. But here are the previously vaulted out members returning to the battle. YHL looking to chase out Ostrich on the top side. Lickable sectioned off by 2. Will not last long. Ostrich returning fire onto YHL, but now 4 members are all on top of him, and Yoshui will claim a 4th kill of the game. 4 members down for Tempo Rush for one of Meebo's Weebos. 5 seconds to go on Dragon Soul.
Meebo's Weebos over 10,000 gold. A dominant game 1 into a dominant game 2, looking for sub 25-minute wins on both of these, Gordo. They want to speed run their way to the next section of playoffs, and Tempo Rush are not going to get in their way today.
Very close to being able to close it out. Tempo Rush, 12,000 gold in the hole. Going to be very nearly doomed. We'll find out if they are going to be able to stay up for just a little bit longer. But they are under immense pressure here. 14-3 on the scoreboard. Dragon Soul down. Baron down. It just doesn't feel like they have any options, Quacks.
Feels like they're all out of them. Zutter was kind of looked at as the protagonist of this draft with the spicy
Both
Master
drafts.
Yi pick. Yeah, Olaf and then Master Yi, but whether through just not being able to make enough plays due to his team's situation and the laning just being difficult to really, you know, make some of those more proactive moves onto the map, or just missing a lot of those timers by his own volition, it feels like neither of them have panned out. Meebo's Weebos have just been playing so well executed and so concise in their wins. So just really good stuff from them, and I feel like one more team fight should do it. Tempo Rush need to find a miracle in order to come back in this game.
Dino trying his best to lane up against YHL. This is the support Camille. Going to be joined over by Yoshui. And this mid lane inhibitor turret is just not going to be long for this world. Going to try to find an odd numbered fight here. It's a 3 versus 2 in mid. They'll know it for sure once Noodles shows on the top side. Lickable already coming on up to try to buff up the rest of his team. They're going to go for a 4v3 top side. They're looking to try to create a situation where they have a numbers advantage. Tempo Rush with the right idea. They know that they'll never win an even numbered fight, but Meebo's Weebos playing with their waves on the shove pretty wisely here. They back away when they are outnumbered, and then they force on the opposite side. And the reward is going to be mid lane inhibitor, top lane inhibitor turret, bot lane inhibitor under pressure.
Yeah, bot lane inhibitor is completely exposed, but I don't think Meebo's Weebos want to be dropping the waves of pressure that they have in the solo laners in order to go for that. So they're going to send the guy with the global ultimate to do that. If things get dicey, he will just level 3 stand united onto the target that Tempo Rush are going to attempt to burst down. At this point in the game, the shield is absolutely massive, by the way. Whoever that Shen ults is not dying. So makes the job of Tempo Rush to get like those resets for the Master Yi really difficult.
For sure. And yeah, he matches the Dusk and Dawn, by the way. I'm surprised to see that one out of the Shen. I'm not sure if that's a stock standard build or not, but I think he could probably build just about anything at this stage and find success. The Actualizer also done for Jameeb to really lock down that early burst damage. Is Realm Warp going to get him in range to start off onto DDoS? 2 members going to get knocked away. YHL goes into the Hextech Ultimatum. That's actually going to leave him up too far. He will fall to Zutter. And Tempo Rush, at perhaps the last possible moment, do find a pick. hang on 5v4.
Yep. They do burst down the guy.
They're going for it. They want to full send it. They want to end the game right now. DDoS knocked up. DDoS taken down. Zutter much the same. Breath of Life cannot save a Tempo Rush. The damage is just too massive. And Noodles dancing forward, free of the threat of the Poppy, will successfully execute Ostrich. It is an interrupt on Stand United from Kino, but that is just a small reply to what is going to be a game win from Meebo's Weebos. Top 8 secured. Tempo Rush are eliminated.
Meebo's Weebos, we wanted to see the clean League of Legends come out from them. Ask and you shall receive a dominant 2-0 from them, but unfortunately, end of the line for Tempo Rush. And Gordo, I gotta say, despite the 0-2, this was still a damn fun team to have in the ACL. Credit over to the players and really fun style to spectate.
Yeah, really a very fun season from them. Loved to get to see, you know, their battle from the bottom there. Love to see their near qualification series up against Team Samsara that ended up at a 2-1 victory for them. Loved to see them being able to take down Milk Brazil. It was a great story. It was a great, performance from them. They do drop down to their fellow underdogs. One had to leave. The other was going to advance. Meebo's Weebos. Top 8 in the ACL, a top 3 seed coming into the playoffs. Made good on as they do take down a Tempo Rush. They will now play up against the winner of Fisher College and Brazilian Storm, 2 collegiate teams, to determine who will be able to make it to those lower quarters.
The fact that we could have a 2 and 3 seed battling out in lower round 2 is insane, by the way. I mean, it is slightly because Fisher College had to FF their series, right? So the beginning parts of this bracket are like this lower bracket is a little bit scuffed, but I still think it's crazy. I mean, the caliber of both of these teams, in my opinion, is really high. So the fact that we're saying goodbye to them, you know, basically the second week of the playoffs is a little bit sad, Gordo.
Sorry, I'm seeking out a potential winners interview here, but that was one hell of a series, one hell of a performance from Meebo's Weebos, and they do get themselves at minimum top 8. Yeah, like you said, a lot of really strong teams in this lower bracket. This is a stacked lower bracket. We did have those few FFs up at the upper.
First, second, and third seed are all in the lower bracket, man.
Yeah,
like
second, third, all in the lower bracket. Conviction Star did play, but I believe had to field a number of E-subs against Team Samsara. They drop on down. 4 Trinks and their father, 5th seed, had to FF, and I believe Fisher College also had to FF. We are going to have an interview with Mr. Fluffy afterwards. Quacks, I know you have to go. So we will see you on Friday. It's Monday.
Nope.
Oh, no, not Friday.
Labor Day weekend.
Great. So we'll see you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I will see you on the 29th. Have an amazing holiday. Spend time with your family. And Gordo, have an amazing interview. Everyone have a great night. We'll see you guys for that interview.
Me
Welcome back, everybody, to the ACL, where we are joined by the victorious Jameeb, fresh off a Meebo's Weebos 2-0 win in the first round of the lower bracket. Jameeb, with this win, you guys have locked top 8. You will play up against the winner of Fisher College and Brazilian Storm. Congratulations.
Thank you. Wasn't expecting it, but we're doing good so far.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah, I want to start out by talking about expectations a little bit, talking about the team origins. So how does this team come together? What's the Meebo's Weebos origin story? And yeah, what's it like to start, winning games throughout the season? Did you guys feel like you found a lot of success previously and you're going to be able to do really well in ACL? Is this a surprise for you guys as well? I'm curious to hear.
A lot of us played together in CLOL like a year or two ago, maybe at UTD, and we did pretty good. And then we were kind of just like playing AVL and then like doing well in those leagues. And then we wanted to play with Yujung Hukiri Lee, and he could only play in ACL, so we were just like, whatever, like let's have some fun in this league and like try to make playoffs. So that was like our original goal. So yeah, we're kind of over exceeding our expectations, but yeah, it's been really fun. Like we've gelled together pretty well throughout practice and just games as well. So it's going good.
That's awesome to hear. So let's talk a little bit about the matchup last week. So you guys played Calamity Esports super close in the regular season. You guys went to game 3 over there. Was a 2-0 for Calamity in the previous upper round. Do you feel like there's a lot that was different in the series you guys played in playoffs? Do you think it was just an off day? I'm kind of curious on what the team's reads are coming off of that first round and what you did, if anything, to change up coming into today's matchup just a couple days later.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we just had like a bad meta read on the newest patch going into that, because there's like a lot of stuff changed, and we like, I don't know, we were kind of like egoing the Smolder a lot, and that ended up not going too well. So now we're putting more prior around that champion because it definitely is as OP as it seems. So just like, I don't know, the drafting was really, really bad that series. That was like the main thing that we discussed. So we focused a bit more on that in the series. But obviously, like, they have crazy drafts in this series, so it's a bit different. But like, yeah,
I was gonna say, yeah. Speaking of meta reads, tough to play, tough to know what you're gonna face against when you play against Tempo Rush. 2 hyper funnel jungle comps come out from them today. 2 support mid laners come out from them today. This has kind of been a style that they've been running throughout a lot of the season. How do you guys? What were your thoughts coming into the series on how you were going to try to play around it? Did you have like a specific game plan to try to work against the unique pools that Zutter and Lickable are going to play? Were you ready for it, or did you have a specific strategy in mind, or was this just a standard game day and you guys were able to just win out through lanes?
Yeah, we knew it was gonna get freaky, but luckily we played against them in the scrims once before and got bamboozled then. So we were more on edge going into this series, but we just knew like the main themes, like some enchanter mid and like some team fighting jungler. So kind of against comps like this, like as long as you don't troll in like the early game and just give away a lead to their like mid jungle duo just fighting around them, they usually just get outscaled pretty hard, and it's just like hard for them to start playing fights once you get past a certain point. So our main goal is just to like crack their jungler like super hard and only fight them on timers that we felt were like really good for us, and then like eventually we just outscale their comps.
Makes sense. Well, thank you for hanging out with us, Jameeb. Congratulations once again on the win. Do want to give last word over to you. Anything you want to shout out? Anything you want to say before we close out stream for the night?
Oh man, shout out to all the Meebo's Weebos supporters. We see you in the chat, all right? We love y'all. And we've got a banger series coming out next week. I hope we get to show out for you all again.
Great to hear. You do have a little bit of a break. We are going to be on break Friday and Monday for Memorial Day. So we will be back a week from Friday. So you get a little bit of time to breathe, a little bit of time to adjust to the patch. Thank you so much for joining us, Jameeb, and congratulations once again. Thank you to everybody at home for tuning on in. Like I just said, we're going to be on break for a couple of days. We'll be back a week from Friday, so that is going to be Dates are hard. That is going to be the 29th of May will be the next match day for ACL. We'll be live then, same bat time, same bat Twitch channel. And until then, thank you all for tuning in. For myself, Caddy, and Quacks, we will see you guys next time.
Bro, just use ZenMarket.